Hello, I'm Reverend Sarah Schlickert, the pastor of Pasadena United Methodist Church, and I wanted to share with you some important updates today about our continued work and movement toward reopening in this time of COVID-19. First of all, I want to let you know that beginning on September 20th, we will move our worship service to 10 a.m. We have had outdoor worship now for about a month and a half. That's been going very well. That's been at 9:30, so on the 20th, we will move to 10 a.m. I also want to share today about some questions that many of you have asked. In particular, when will we return to indoor worship? As our leadership team considered this question and other questions about what kind of gatherings we might have and what sort of activities our church building will host and what will we do as a congregation, we decided as a leadership team to develop a metric-based framework to guide our decisions. That means we wanted to look at actual statistics about the spread of the virus and to have those guide all of our decisions. There are a number of statistics that you'll hear talked about in the news and from local leaders. As a leadership team, we have decided to use new cases per 100,000 as our guiding metric. We will be using the framework of the Harvard Global Health Institute, and that is available online. We will be following the metrics for Anne Arundel County. We're using this particular statistic because we believe that for our purposes, we are most interested in what the current spread of the virus is. And we feel that for our purposes, new cases per 100,000 most accurately helps us identify how safe it is to gather and in what ways. Therefore, using this metric, we have outlined for worship and for gathering, as well as for our office, for our Pasadena Early Learning Center and other activities. We've outlined certain categories for at each level, red, orange, yellow, and green, about what activities we will allow and how we will move between various stages. We will always follow our local and state guidelines. And it has been our decision as a leadership council throughout this season to operate out of an abundance of caution. So even given our framework, we expect that we will always be more cautious than local regulations will allow, while also seeking to be able to do those worship, study, fellowship, and other gatherings and connection opportunities that are so important to us. We also know that even as we move out of COVID-19, that our online ministry will continue to be an important way that we reach people. And so throughout all of these stages, and even beyond the end of this time of COVID-19, we expect that online opportunities will continue. Given this framework, though as we began developing this framework, Anne Arundel County and the state of Maryland were in the yellow zone. As I share with you today, Anne Arundel County and Maryland have been back into the orange zone. Our new cases per 100,000 indicate that there is increasing community spread. Therefore, at this time, we will continue to worship outdoors. We will continue to stream everything online. We will continue to find creative ways to gather. This week, we're kicking off more and more activities. Our Zoom adult Bible studies are beginning. On Sunday, September 13th, our online children's Sunday school will begin as children gather on Zoom to hear Bible stories and to sing and to share together. Our youth group will be gathering once a month for socially distanced, masked outdoor gatherings, continuing to follow all the practices for their gatherings that we do for outdoor worship, and they'll be gathering at other times using online methods. We will continue while we were in the orange zone, though, and while we are worshiping outdoors, to work steadily to move to indoor worship. Many of our teams already have been thinking about indoor worship, and in the coming weeks, we will be even more intentional about preparing for the time that we will be able to worship indoors. This includes preparing our space, doing things like pulling hymnals and pens out of the pews, reducing the number of touch surfaces. We know that when we move to indoor worship, our practices will have to be even more restrictive as we do so than they are outdoors. Outdoors, we're able, even as we're socially distanced, to fellowship and to talk. When we move indoors, we will not be able to do that. When we move indoors, if you join us in person For worship, you will have to go directly to your assigned socially distanced seat, and you'll have to remain there for the duration of the service until it is your time to depart. We'll have to be much more careful about the movement of people, and our worship service will not change in any significant ways when we move indoors. In fact, we'll need to be even more mindful about the music that is offered. We will not be joining in congregational singing for quite a while. We will continue to need to avoid fellowship and being close in proximity, especially indoors. But we know that as the fall moves on, it will become increasingly difficult to be outside. Now, September and October, we hope, will be ideal times to worship outdoors, but we are preparing for indoor worship. Our leadership team is working and has been working tirelessly to make sure that at every stage of the process, we are doing all that we can to provide as safe of an opportunity for people to gather as possible, whether that's in person, outdoors, online, or hopefully before too long, indoors. We also know that many persons have chosen, because of their own concerns, to continue to connect with us virtually, and we want to assure you that we will continue to provide those opportunities. We also want to make sure that we're reaching out to persons who might be homebound, or those who might not be able to connect in other ways, not only with our congregation, but with friends. And so if you have any suggestions for how we can continue to grow our ministry in reaching out during this season, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'm also excited to share with you that our mission opportunities are gearing up as we prepare for Socktober and as we look ahead at the holiday season. You'll be hearing more and more about opportunities that you have to support those in need, and I especially encourage you to check our e-chimes. It's getting fuller and fuller of wonderful announcements about things like our Care Corner and Operation Christmas Child. I want to assure you that your leadership team hears and cares about all of the opinions and thoughts that you have expressed. It is very difficult as a congregation, as you can imagine, to plan a path forward while we are all in different places about our understanding and our preferences and our comfort level in terms of gathering and how we connect. We hope that having this established framework will help, as I mentioned earlier, to provide both transparency, but also a shared understanding and agreement about how we will move forward. We recognize that conditions will continue to change. And so as conditions continue to change, we will keep you updated. We understand that as our numbers, as we hover right now, as we are close to the line, for example, between the orange and the yellow zone, that we want to make sure that we're not pivoting back and forth too much. And so we will have, our plan is to have at least a week of lead time before any changes. For example, when we move into yellow, we plan to have at least a week of staying in yellow with confidence that those numbers are continuing to track down before we would move to indoor worship. In the meantime, we will continue to prepare so that when we are able to gather indoors for worship, we will be ready to do so, following all of the best practices that we can to make that as safe as possible. I thank you for your prayers for me and for our leadership team and for our staff as we move through this season together. If you have any questions, or if you would like to see the complete framework that we're using to guide our decisions, please contact myself or the church office. Thank you.